Hello, my name is Spence, and today we'll be talking about the Battle of Waterloo. Alright, let's begin. After the battles of Ligny and Quatre Bras, Napoleon sent Marshal Emmanuel de Grouchy to go after the retreating Prussians, while Napoleon, with the rest of the army, went after Wellington's army. The morning after the Battle of Quatre Bras, Wellington received news that Blucher's army was defeated at Ligny. Wellington ordered his army to retreat to Waterloo during a heavy shower, and during the retreat, Wellington received a promise from Blucher to come to his aid the next day. On the 18th of June 1815, Wellington set up his 68,000-strong army on a gentle ridge to protect them from the French artillery fire and occupied the farms of Hougoumont, La Haye-Sainte, and Papelotte. At dawn, Napoleon set up his 72-strong army and waited for the ground to dry, but this action would cost Napoleon precious time. During this, Napoleon had breakfast with his generals at La Caillou, where Soult suggested that they should order Grouchy to join the rest of the army, but Napoleon dismissed it, saying, "Just because you have all been beaten by Wellington, you think he's a good general. I'll tell you, Wellington is a bad general. The English are bad troops, and this affair is nothing more than eating breakfast." The battle began at 11 a.m. when Napoleon ordered an assault on Hougoumont in order to get Wellington to send his reserves to support the defenders at Hougoumont and to weaken the centre, but Wellington didn't bite, and the British and German defenders desperately held the farm against the French assault. At noon, 80 guns of the French artillery opened fire on the Allied line, but the French fire was mainly hitting the ridge while others found their mark. At 1:15 p.m., Napoleon saw a column of troops at St. Lambert, 4 to 5 miles away on Napoleon's right flank. With Napoleon seeing that they were Prussians, he ordered Grouchy to join him, but Grouchy would never receive this order and continued following the Prussian rearguard, despite hearing the French artillery, with Gérard advising Grouchy to march to the sound of the guns, but he refused to march to the guns. At 1:30 p.m., Napoleon ordered his infantry to attack the British left flank, but heavy musket fire and a charge by the British heavy cavalry routed the French, with 2 Eagles being captured, with one of them captured by the famous Scots Greys. The British heavy cavalry, excited by their success, continued their charge towards the main French line, becoming disordered, and then the French cavalry countercharged, inflicting heavy losses on the Union Brigade, with their commander Major General Sir William Ponsonby being killed during the action. At 4 p.m., the British withdrew from the ridge to get better cover from the French artillery fire, but Ney, seeing this, thinking that the British were retreating, led a massive cavalry charge only to be met by the British squares, which routed the French cavalry. This action is seen as a major blunder by Ney, because he did not order the infantry or artillery support in his attack. As Ney was charging against the British squares, Blucher arrived with his Prussian vanguard, with the Prussians capturing the village of Plussenau and threatening Napoleon's right flank. This forced Napoleon to send his reserves to recapture the village and hold back the Prussians. Ney would order another attack on the British centre right flank with the remainder of his cavalry, with Delon supporting him by attacking La Haye. Ney's attack was repelled by the Household Brigade cavalry, with Delon having much success despite heavy resistance by the defenders of La Haye. And during the assault on La Haye, Thomas Picton would send up his division to support the defenders, but was killed during the action. The French would capture the farm at 6 p.m. With the farm secure, the French brought up the artillery and blasted the Allied squares at close range. Napoleon was now in a desperate situation, with the Prussians coming in force. Napoleon sent his last reserve, the Imperial Guard, at 7:30 p.m. where they attacked the Allied centre, but the British unleashed a devastating volley at the Imperial Guard, then launched a bayonet charge and routed the Imperial Guard. Wellington, seeing that victory was near, ordered his troops to advance against the French line. With the Imperial Guard defeated and the Prussians closing in, the French panicked and fled the field, with only the Old Guard performing a rearguard action, with them getting surrounded, with Lord Hill asking them to surrender only for them to refuse and get annihilated by cannon fire. With the battle over, Wellington and Blucher met each other at Napoleon's former headquarters, La Belle Alliance, with Blucher thinking it would be a perfect name for the battle, but Wellington preferred the more English-sounding name of Waterloo, which was the name of his headquarters. The Allies would lose 24,000 men, with the French losing between 26,000 to 27,000 men, with a grand total of 50,000 men on both sides. Napoleon would abdicate for a second time, with him trying to flee to America, but was captured by HMS Bellerophon, where Napoleon was sent to St. Helena in October 1815, where he would die there on May 5th, 1821. If you like this video, like and subscribe. See you next time.